Hey guys, welcome back to this video, and I wanted to kind of bring you along a little journey with us here to Rye Wilderness Preserve here in Manatee County, Florida, just east of Parrish, Florida. This is the main entrance to the park, to the nature preserve. This is a 145-acre nature preserve that has camping available on Friday and Saturday nights only. It's $20 per night, and it's first come, first serve. You cannot make reservations online. It's primitive camping. There's no water or electricity, and it has to be tent camping. No RV hookups or no campers are allowed in the camping area. This is taking you over to the parking area and a big pavilion that they have here, playground. It's kind of similar to something you'd see like at a state park, but it's managed and owned by the county of Manatee County. And I'm narrating over this video because it was a very windy day, so the microphone had a lot of wind noise that was kind of irritating when I was editing it down. So I figured I'd do this. This is just the grill that they have available for you. It's very heavy to open up, and it's kind of full of trash and stuff in there, but maybe 30 minutes cleaning it up, it might be useful for you. Put some charcoal in there. This is the bathhouse directly across. You have obviously men and women's restrooms and showers, and this is a map of the whole preserve. It'll give you an idea of where the different trails are. There's 3 or 4 different trails that you can hike down and experience different aspects of Florida wildlife. They basically follow the Rye Branch, which is a creek that later flows into the Little Manatee River. And this just gives you some information. All this is available on their website, which I'm going to put a screenshot of here momentarily for you. This is the campsite. As you can see, it's more or less just a field with some fire rings and some picnic tables. It's a very flat, level ground, so there's no rocks or anything like that, obviously, in this part of Florida that you have to contend with. But I imagine in the summer it'd be pretty warm here to set your tent up in the open with no shade, but there is a creek nearby that might provide some relief from the heat and the humidity if you wanted to go take a dip in the creek. But I'm here in December, and this is a beautiful time of year in Florida. It's in the 70s during the day, so it's beautiful. This is one of the many trails that takes you down to the Little Manatee River, and then it splits off here and goes to another little body of water called the Rye Branch. But I'm going to take you down to the canoe launch and show you where you can go canoeing in the Little Manatee River. The water was very low the day that we visited, but it did seem like you could kayak or canoe it if you stayed in the deeper parts of the river. But the whole river at its deepest maybe was about 2 or 3 feet deep. This is my son Noah. He's doing some metal detecting here by the canoe launch. He thought maybe this would be a good place to find some items that people lost while they're launching their canoes. But like I said, the water's very low, but you can see a guy out there in his kayak. And later on, I did talk to this guy. He was from Wisconsin. He was very excited to be down in the warm Florida December. But the neat thing about this river is you can look for shark's teeth, and a lot of bodies of water in this area of Florida have all kinds of fossils. You just use like a spaghetti strainer, pasta strainer, and you just sift them out, and you can find different fossils like shark's teeth or stingray teeth or what have you. And Noah here's trying his hand at some metal detecting, of course, and having a good time, barefoot, of course. I'm going to take you down now to the trail that if we hung a left instead of going straight to the canoe launch, this takes you down to the little Rye Branch, and this is just a beautiful little stream that flows through and meanders through this nature preserve. Crystal clear water, but you got to hike a little bit to get there. It's about 1/4 of a mile back to where you can access this little branch. You can see Eli there in his hands. He's got a pasta strainer, and he's got a bucket to put his shark's teeth in. So we did find a number of shark's teeth on this trip. And this is the little area where you walk down and you access the Rye Branch.
A lot shallower. If you have little kids and stuff, this is way better.
And you just got to be careful. You hop down here and head down, but it's Like I said, beautiful stream water, and give you a bird's eye view here. The water's really clear and cold. I wonder if it's spring fed. I've never been to the source of these waters, but I'd have to think that it's spring fed somewhere back there. Maybe some small spring. You see Eli here trying his hand again at looking for some shark's teeth. Most rivers and streams like this in Florida have a tint of, like, almost like a tea colored water, and that's because they are leaching a lot of this tannic acid that's coming from these palmetto and oak trees. So a lot of times they will have kind of a brownish tea color. That's the tannic acid in the water. It's not like toxic or anything like that. It makes the water a little bit bitter to drink, but if you take water and you boil it or something like that, if you're camping, it's fine. I've done it many times, and but this water kind of lacks that. It doesn't really have that tannic acid content to it, so that leads me to believe that it doesn't really start very far upstream. It's kind of a shorter body of water. And I'm sure if I got on Google Maps or whatever and looked at the satellite, I could probably find the source of it all. But you can walk upstream. This would make a beautiful hike if you just walked a few miles upstream, just with your shoes off, just ankle deep water, and it's cold water. That make a great hiking trip, actually. Very, very refreshing one, especially in the summer. We did find this little tooth. We found it, Noah got some signals here, but it's not metal, obviously, but we did find this looking for the metal object that he was looking for, and I thought it was interesting. We were like, oh, it looks like a human molar at first, but my mother-in-law, who has some experience working for veterinary services and stuff, said no, it's like some kind of animal molar. So rest assured, there was no dead bodies. But we got up off of the branch here, and we're walking across the street to what I guess is the red trail here. And there's a little bit of signage on either side of the trail that tells you what you're looking at, the different vegetation. If you're not accustomed to Florida vegetation, like here's a sign on the Spanish moss, how the Spanish moss came to Florida and why it's invasive and everything else. And then there's another sign about the sable palms and what the deal is with the sable palms, So we hiked down this trail and we came across this really odd site. There's a fire ring here with a weird obelisk. We don't know if this is like a gravestone or what's going on here, but someone has made a fire here at some point in front of this obelisk, and it just looked kind of odd, I guess. And it looks like the obelisk was broken in half at some point. And little pieces of metal on the top there. And that pasta strainer is ours. That's not part of the grave or whatever this is. I have no idea what this is. But I couldn't find any kind of inscriptions or anything like that on it, so I'm not sure what was going on with this. But the trail eventually goes downhill and goes back through that same Rye branch. This is Stacy crossing over the Rye branch again, and then you come back out of the Rye branch and you find the cemetery. And the cemetery is a very old cemetery, 100 to 150 years old, if I'm not mistaken. This was connected to the Rye community, the settlement that was back here. And you can see some of the gravestones are Civil War era, like this guy here, and you see the seashells on top of the tombstones. It's kind of like the equivalent of like how like Jewish people, they will put like stones on top of gravestones. Floridians put seashells apparently. So, but this guy is probably one of the founders of the Rye settlement. I don't know all the history, but he was part of the Civil War, fought for the Confederate States of America, and fought for the state of Florida. He was part of the Florida militia. So it's interesting, you get a little bit of history, and just the hardships that they would have experienced in the 1800s living in Southwest Florida. I just cannot imagine. So there's his unit designation there that you can see from the Civil War. It was very rare that you see something in this part of Florida that's that old. It's usually Florida in terms of settlement and cemeteries, everything's going to be relatively new. So, but this is neat. I mean, this is him and his wife, I would assume, and sadly enough, there's like his two kids here that were buried at both at young ages, and you just can't imagine what life would have been like at this age. But I'm sure there's all kinds of history and stories attached with these cemeteries that and these graves that we've long since forgotten. And I hope it's chronicled in a book somewhere. But we did make a video about this same exact spot years and years ago. You can go back through. Maybe I'll put it in the description below if you wanted to see another video about this. And I think I called it Old Florida Ghost Town, because this is essentially an abandoned settlement, the Rye settlement. But today I wanted to kind of give you a broader view of the preserve as a whole and show you what the preserve looks like, because I didn't do that in the prior video. I think I just kind of focused on this back portion of the preserve, and I didn't give you a chance to see the entire preserve and in its beauty. But yeah, this is I think he's 13 here, so yeah, there may have been things like malaria or dysentery or things like that would have taken you out at a very young age, back then, and just very sad. Can't imagine how rugged it would have been. This is kind of like what we assumed was like a town dump or something. It's kind of like modern trash and mixed in with really old trash as well. And it's all just kind of heaped in this ditch that ran along adjacent to the cemetery back here. It was kind of, I don't know, kind of gross, but we were looking through and finding some old bottles and stuff like that. But here's the last shot of Noah. But guys, I really appreciate you watching this video. If I earn your subscription and a thumbs up, I really appreciate it. But we will see you in the next adventure, in the next video. Goodbye.